អង្គុយចុះអង្គជំរះប្រកាសបន្តកិច្ចដំណើរការនីតិវិធីសកម្មការជាដំបូងនេះ
The court is back in session. The chamber is going to rule on the request from the prosecution, which was formulated a little while ago. The chamber grants an extra session to the prosecution and to the co-lead lawyers of the civil parties and of the parties will have to put questions that fall within the scope of case 002/02. In the event of any concrete objection, the chamber will rule on a case-per-case basis. Prosecution, you may continue.
Mr. Witness, let me quickly follow up on the answer that you gave just before the break regarding the 60 people who had been implicated. You indicated that these people were eventually released and that they are still alive. Can you give us the names and locations of some of these 60 people?
Regarding these 60 people, these were people who were living in the cooperative of Ching Tom commune. I was based, or corrects the interpreter, I based myself on information transmitted to me by Pu because he was based in this commune. I only remember a son named Chia who was next to the Acha Pagoda. I don't know if he is still alive. And the other ones lived in Kabal O village. And these were people who were waging a secret struggle. And I would like to specify that I gathered this information through Bern. This was a place where people were waging a secret struggle. They were working there. They were earning their living there. And they were connected with people in the city. This was a time of Hu Nim, Hu Yung, and Pol Pot, and Tamok was outside of this network. He would travel through the provinces. And when Hu Nim, Hu Yun were arrested, our network hid them in the village of Kabal O, and it was Mun who was in charge of hiding them. And when C was arrested, the 60 villagers were questioned, whereas they were part of the Khmer Rouge network, they were blamed for belonging to the Vietnamese network. And I learned all of this through Bun. Or through the village of Bun, and I would receive the people from Bun to re-educate them. They could not betray us, so we would welcome them with open arms because they were not bad elements. They would just earn their living and earn in an honest way. That's all I can tell you.
A couple of just very quick questions, and I'll let others follow up on that. This incident in which 60 people were implicated and you followed up, did this take place during the time you were in Tram Kok district, that is between April 1975 and February 1977? Yes or no?
Answer. It was before that period. We solved that problem before that period. In fact, this problem occurred only after C's arrest. I don't know exactly when C was arrested because I was not aware of everything. And you can maybe tell me yourself, in fact. I was simply told that was C had been arrested. And after his arrest, many people in Cabal O were denounced, and they belonged to our network. This is all I knew.
That's why I asked you if this took place while you were in Tram Kok, Mr. Witness. We know from S21 records that Chu Chet alias C was arrested in March 1978. Would I be correct then that if this took place while you were in the Central Zone in March 1978, so these 60 people could not have been implicated by Chu Chet if he was only arrested in 1978. Is that correct?
I'm not sure of that. It's up to you to get that information. I'm just talking to you about the facts that I was aware of. We were at the party school in Trapang Thnol. Bun raised the question. She was afraid. She could not say for sure that the 60 people were not traitors, and she asked me to support her. So I cannot tell you when these 60 people were arrested, but in any case, it was before I left for Kompong Cham.
And before I move on to that issue, let me just mention one name to you. There was one significant Southwest Zone cadre who was arrested before February 1977, whose name was Achar Kong. He was the Southwest Zone hospital chairman and a member of the zone committee. Do you remember Achar Kong?
President, witness, please answer the question, because just before that the mic was not activated, so the parties could not hear you, and neither could the interpreters. Answer: no, I do not know him.
Let me move on now to the period that you moved from Tram Kok to Kampong Cham. And what I want to focus on is a meeting that you described in interview E319.1.18, E319.1.18 at answers 60 through 65. You were describing here your trip from Tram Kok to Kampong Cham. You described how you stopped one day in Phnom Penh, and you described a meeting of high-ranking party leaders that you went to. You stated that the meeting lasted approximately 1 hour or more and covered many issues, and that there were approximately 50 to 60 participants. Can you please tell the Chamber who the high-ranking party members were who attended this meeting in Phnom Penh?
The person chairing the meeting was Pol Pot, and there was also Tamok. Tamok was also present, as well as Kpok. Sai, too. Sai had brought some forces there, and during this meeting it was a certain number of objectives were chosen, and Kpok was in charge of relaying the information to the entire district and to the communes as well. I was not sure of the exact number of people there. I think there were about 50 people, maybe. Let's say 50, yes. So there were important figures as well as subordinates together. Sai, alias Chap, also attended the meeting. There was no re-education session. It was simply a meeting when certain orders were given in order to organize the sector, because people had escaped into the forest, so we had to restructure, therefore, the sector in order to avoid regionalism and in order to avoid everybody trying to be a boss, and we had to make sure that there was no discrimination against the cadres. All of this is what was discussed during that meeting. The next day, K-Pok went to spend 2 nights in Kampong Cham. And during the first night, he summoned people to a conference during which he informed them of the situation. So the district cadres, as well as the commune cadres, came to this meeting where K-Pok gave the district responsibility to someone, and then he sent me to the rubber plantation. Later, he went to see me, and then I organized the work by assigning tasks to the different cadres where I had been sent to.
Thank you for that response, Mr. Witness. If I can ask you to do your best for the remainder of the day to focus on answering my questions. I wish I had hours to talk to you because your information is fascinating to me, but I have a little time. So if you do your best to respond to my specific questions, we'll get through this quicker. In regards to the people who were present, was Noon Chea present at this meeting?
I don't remember, in fact. I cannot tell you if he was present or not, because I don't remember. In any case, Kyo Sompon was not present.
Let me refresh your recollection, Mr. Witness, with what you told OCIJ at E319.1.18 at answer 60. When you were asked who attended this meeting, this is what you said. The high-ranking people included Pol Pot, Tamok, Noon Chea, Kai Pak, Son Sen, and there were also other intellectuals such as Chun Chun, Minister of Health, and Chun Mom. End of quote. Does that refresh your recollection, Mr. Witness, that the people present at this meeting also included Noon Chea and Son Sen and some intellectuals?
That was all I could recollect. When I was young, my memory was very good, but now I am at this age, I am forgetful, becoming more forgetful, and that was all I could recollect.
Now, in regards to Kyu Sampan, you were asked in the interview if he was at the meeting. Your response was, I am not sure. I want to read to you an excerpt from an interview of one of the other cadres from the Southwest who traveled with your group to the Central Zone, worked for a woman named Yut, and in interview 319/21.3.51 at answer 36, she gave the following testimony, quote, "We stayed one night in Phnom Penh on the campus of a university whose name I do not remember. Yut and the other 10 cadres attended a meeting with Tamok and Kyu Sampan. I know that because Tamok came to pick them up for the meeting by car, and they returned that night. Yut told me in person that Kyu Sampan would come to perform an inauguration for us the next morning. End of quote. Does any of that refresh your recollection about whether Q Sampan was at this meeting or whether you saw him at any time while you were in Phnom Penh on your way to Kampong Cham?
At that time, it was a brief moment, and there were many people coming, and I do not recall. I could recognize some faces, but I did not know others, and some just came briefly. I was not quite sure on this point. I apologize.
Thank you for clarifying that. Where did this meeting take place?
Tul Prasray School in the morning. And when we got there, it was in the evening, so I took the night rest over there. Sai stayed inside the room for the meeting. And as for the planning, Tamok, Sai, and others were there to receive the planning. And they came out of the meeting, and then they gave us a bit of an instructions, and then they left. And those who were in the meeting, the combatants, male and female, we were all there, and we listened to that instruction. And then the truck came to pick us up all the way to Kampong Cham province. At Kampong Cham, Pok organized the trip for us, and he was based there, so he organized the meeting for us, and then he would convene a meeting at that time to give the direction, and afterward we simply went to undertake our respective task.
Okay. I'm trying to focus at this time just on the meeting in Phnom Penh. Which leaders, which of the high-ranking leaders spoke at this meeting?
At the meeting, there was only one person. There were around 10 people coming, but only one person spoke, and others simply came to accompany him. Only Pol Pot spoke at that meeting, and he simply said that there were betrayers and other enemies coming into the forest, so we had to go and find them, and that the party has already given us the task, so we had to accomplish the task assigned. That was the direction.
Let me just read a short excerpt from your interview. This is again E319.1.18 at answer 64 through answer 65. Quote, during the meeting, Pol Pot said about betrayal in the zones, and it was also written on blackboards. Pol Pot did not use the word purges. He said that this zone is traitorous. I assign you, comrade, to go. You are my right-hand man. Deal with it. Can you do it? End of quote. You said that there was something written on the blackboard at this meeting. What do you remember being written on the blackboard?
He wrote several bullet points of directions. At that time, to my recollection, there were only a few bullet points. The first bullet point was to control the situation. Second was to delegate the task and assign the task in order to accomplish the goal. And the third one is not to be too proud of ourselves, not to be arrogant, not to overpraise ourselves, and we do not have to have the individualist perspective. In other words, we do not have to mind that we are from this zone and from that zone. We had to work together. So that was a brief meeting. It was very brief indeed, and it was only to give the direction.
Did Pol Pot during this meeting talk about Khoi Tun, the former chairman of the North Zone?
Let me try to recollect. He made mention a few people, but I do not recollect. But I do recall that he did mention Khoi Tun. He said that Khoi Tun had betrayed the party, but I did not know the detail actually. At that time, he just made mention that, and I simply I followed. I did not know the background story of the betrayal by Khoi Tun. So that was the one he mentioned at the time, to my recollection.
Did he tell you that as you were sitting in this meeting, Khoi Tun was under arrest and being tortured and interrogated at S21?
As usual, the arrest was not made known. They never told anybody of the arrest. They only said that one of our member had betrayed us. That was it.
All right, I want to now cover, you indicated that one of the instructions at this meeting was that there were traitors in the zone you were going to. You indicated that you were told they had fled to the forest and you needed to find them. In your interview, E3/5786, E3/5786, answer 1, you gave the following testimony about one of the cadres at the rubber plantation zone after you arrived. I quote, "At the beginning, before that woman became my deputy, the deputy was a man who was from Prek Kak in the central zone. However, after he had worked with me for about 1 month, he was removed by Kai Pak, who said that man had been implicated by others and had an affair with a woman in Prek Kak." End of quote. My first question, did Kai Pak tell you who it was who had implicated this deputy at the zone rubber plantation?
Response: No, he did not. At that time, the decision was all up to him alone. He had the decision and he would give the order to me to implement. But I did not implement that order because I was at that time being engaged in getting the rubber latex, and I could not do it desperately without knowing the rationale. But once anybody, the messenger came to take the order, or I would forward the message to. With him, I would resist against his order as well sometime. And we had some young people who have certain ability to come and work with him in his office, but generally they could not stay with him for a long time. He would remove them one after another, and I questioned him as well why people could not stay with him. And he told me that, well, those people had betrayed the party, so they had to be removed. And I told him that, well, if you did not have any clear reason for removal, you simply listen to others of the implication by others, that would not be good. At that time, he also came to me for other forces, but generally he did not understand what was happening on the ground. That's why whenever I send people to work with him, he would remove them most of the time, but I ran out of people to send to him because after all they could not work with him.
Mr. President, with your leave, at this time I'd like to provide to the witness document E3/2956, E3/2956. It is a prisoner list from S21 that records a list of persons from the Old North or Central Zone who were arrested in February and March 1977, including a number of people from the rubber plantation.
The President, Mr. Victor Copé, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. While agreeing that technically the question falls within the scope of the second trial because it relates to S21, I think I should also reveal that I feel quite uncomfortable with this line of questioning because I am simply not at this stage having enough understanding as to where the prosecution wants to go to. While technically all parties in this courtroom should know what has transpired in the North Zone, what has happened with regard to purchase, etc. But I think it's the first time in this courtroom in the second trial that I really don't know where the prosecution is going to and what is this line of questioning leading to. All of a sudden we're dealing with purchase in the North Zone, Central Zone, S21. We are unprepared for this. And like I said again, it is within the scope technically, that is true, but we are unprepared to understand really what's going on.
I honestly do not know. I'm not sure how to respond to that.
We take this as an observation.
May I provide this document to the witness, Mr. President?
The President, you may proceed.
Fine, and I object. I object to this line of questioning. I mean, we're not usually in the habit of saying that we don't know what's going on in this trial, but this time I feel quite uncomfortable with what is happening right now, so I object to this line of question. It is not technically outside of the scope, but it is outside of the agreement that we all have, that we are dealing here with Krang Tachan and Tram Kok, and that once we deal with S21, we deal with S21. and the purchase in the North Zone. And all of a sudden, on a Wednesday afternoon, we're talking about something that we are ill-prepared for. So I object.
If I may respond, if counsel is not prepared, that is his fault. This witness testified about this in his original interviews. This has been part of the charges of the indictment since it was issued in 2010. If he doesn't understand where I am going, that's his problem. I think it's absolutely clear. This has been part of the case. It's part of the case we're trying. We have a witness here who has direct, relevant information. And if he's not prepared, that's not your problem. It's not my problem. It's only his own problem.
It's my client's problem to begin with as well. I remember we had a whole discussion about which documents we should be putting on the interface so that the other parties are well prepared. Documents that everybody knew, there was documents that were about the facts that we were discussing. And for the first time we are saying that we do not know at this stage where the prosecution is going. We get this answer. So I strongly object to what's going on here right now.
The President, the objection by the defense counsel for Nguyen Chie is not sustained. The chamber has made it clear that the parties can put the questions to the witness within the scope of case 02/02, and the questions that has been put by the prosecutor to the witness are indeed relevant to case 02/02. So the prosecutor may proceed, and witness is instructed to respond to the question put by the prosecutor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, in this list I've just provided to you, I want to refer you, if you can, to numbers 29 through 37 on the list. Numbers 29 through 37. There are a total of 84 Central or Old North Zone cadres who are identified on this list as having been arrested between mid-February and the end of March 1977. Numbers 29 through 37 are 9 cadres from the zone rubber plantation who were arrested mostly in mid-March 1977, about 1 month after you say you arrived at the Central Zone rubber plantation. One of them, number 29, Sam Saram, alias Man, is identified as being the chief of the Prek Kok rubber plantation. My first question is, looking at this list of 9 people, can you tell us, is one of these people the deputy from Prek Kok who you described was arrested on the instructions of Kai Pak?
I would like to clarify that I do not recall the number. At the time during the revolutionary period, they only used their alias, and since here there was a full name, I do not recall, but there was actually one person from Preka. Tapok took him away. One of them were taken away.
If you look at this list, you'll see that in addition to their full names, their revolutionary aliases are there also. Can you look at those aliases, and in particular the person who is identified as being from Prek Kok, and tell me whether you remember any of these people and whether you can identify the person, the deputy who was arrested?
I'm afraid I am not sure because they were newcomers, and when they came here, I do not recognize them. I could not answer these questions without precise answer.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Witness. Does seeing the names of these people refresh your recollection that in fact there were a lot more than just one cadre from the Zone Rubber Plantation who was arrested after you arrived there?
The President, witness, please repeat your answer because you answered before the microphone was activated. At that time, Brother Perk sent the forces to take him away. The first time they came, they took away the deputy, and then the second time they took other peoples, but I do not recall the names. And I looked through this list, I did not know who was who, and I do not recall who was taken away at that time. At that time, I was also assigned with the new task too, and I did not know these people by their names. So I could not simply guess in my answer.
Fair enough, Mr. Witness. Mr. President, one more document I would like to provide. This is another S-21 list of people from the North Zone. It is document E3/3861, E3/3861. This is a list of prisoners from the North Zone who were smashed on the 8th of July, 1977. It lists 173 prisoners from the central Old North Zone who were killed at S-21 that day, including a number of cadres from the Zone Rubber Plantation. Again, I'd like to present this to the witness and see if he recognizes any of the names.
The President, you may proceed.
In this list, Mr. Witness, the numbers, the prisoner numbers I want you to refer to are numbers 53 through 59 and numbers 140 and 141 on the list. To repeat, numbers 53 to 59 and numbers 140 to 141. And I believe in the middle column, you will find the aliases of these people. Are you able to find those numbers, and can you look at those names and tell me whether you remember any of the Zone Rubber Plantation cadres whose names appear in this list?
សូមបញ្ជាក់
When I first arrived, there was no deputy at that time. They had all gone.
ពេលនេះគេយកទៅមួយ
They had been taken away, and I did not know their names either.
And one last subject that I will quickly finish on. In your testimony relating to your time in the Central Zone, you identified a cadre named Cham. In interview E127/7.1.3 at answer 9, you identified Cham as Kai Pak's right-hand man who worked at the zone office. And in interview E319.1.18 at answer 205, you testified Cham was the office chairman of the Central Zone of Kai Pak. He was in charge of security work. My question for you is, do you know if this Cham was the same Cham, was the person who Kai Pak had assigned to supervise the construction of the 1st January dam? Do you know if it was the same person?
I don't remember.
រា
Cham, actually not Cham, but Cham. He was the right-hand man of Kai Pak, and he was sent to be in charge of the construction of 1st January dam. To my recollection, his name was Cham. Whenever they convened the meeting, we went to the office of Cham. Actually, he came from Kampong Cham. Whenever he visited our place, people would call me to meet with him, and he was the one who was in charge of the construction of the 1st January dam.
Thank you very much for answering my questions today, Mr. Witness. Mr. President, we have no further questions.
The President. Thank you. The hearing today has come to an end. The court would adjourn now and resume tomorrow on Thursday, the 23rd of April, starting from 9 a.m. in the morning. Tomorrow, the chamber would resume examining the testimony of Mr. Pichum. We would like to thank Mr. Pichum for answering all the questions put by the parties. I wish to inform you that your testimony has not been concluded, so we would like to invite you to come to provide testimony again. I would like to ask the duty counsel to accompany the witness tomorrow, and other official, please bring the witness to the courtroom before 9 a.m. And court officer, please coordinate the transport of Mr. Pichum and have him back in this courtroom before 9 a.m. Security guards are instructed to bring Mr. Nunjia and Kyu Sampon back to the detention facility and have them back into this courtroom before 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.